Good afternoon, I'm Bill Anderson, coming live from the Costa del Sol. Beautiful day here again. And, well, after last week's disasters with internet, I think half the Costa del Sol's internet was down last week, and we had to abandon things at the last minute. I'm very pleased to say that right at the moment, and I'm crossing my fingers, everything is going well. We were off for about 12 hours last Friday, came back on about 6 in the evening. So, yeah, it was a bit of a disaster. Sorry about that, folks. Well, I am delighted to welcome for the first time ever on Expat Radio, Andrew Scattergood, otherwise known as Skatz. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Bill. Good afternoon. How are you?
I am very well. Now, Skatz, you prefer Skatz to Andrew, yeah? Is it your mother?
Absolutely, yes.
Your mother that calls you Andrew, yes?
My mother and father called me Andrew, but I think Skatz arrived after a few other nicknames, depending on which area I was in. In the northeast of England, where I was born, it was Scatter, because everybody's called Bazza, Dazza, Gaza, and that. And then it became Scatty when I moved to a slightly more posh area. But then in Leicester, everybody's called Baz, Daz, Skaz, something like that. So I got Skatz, and it's stayed ever since.
It has, yeah, and I think people kind of know you by that down here now, Skatz, yeah?
Yeah.
So, the north of England, where are your roots? Let's find out a little bit about yourself. Where are your roots, Skatz?
Consett in County Durham, which was a steel town. Was a steel town, I say, because the steelworks got shut down in the Great Thatcher era in 1981, and that's when we moved out to the northwest. But no, I spent first 16 years of my life there. Very, very proud people up there in the northeast of England. I haven't got the voice in. I haven't got the accent anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, when you move about a bit, the accent does tend to soften a little, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. They couldn't understand me when I moved into the very north of Cheshire on the border of Greater Manchester. And they couldn't understand because we were talking really fast like this and they really couldn't get it. So I had to amend what I was doing, and I gradually got the Manchester accent and picked up. So I think that's why I get all of these accents from when I play different characters on my show, you know.
Yeah, we're going to come to that, Skatz, but because well, you're kind of, I would say, a man of many talents, really, and we will get to that. But you have a blog, you have your own website, you have a weekly live stream under the title of U2, as in TOO, U2 Spain. And you are a man of other talents because you're also a musician, aren't you?
I am, yes, and I think music is at the heart of everything that I do. Although I don't sing and dance on my YouTube channel. Although maybe that'll come later.
Come on, you don't get far off it, Skatz. I've watched your YouTube channel. You're not far away from that.
Well, I think, I'm certainly an entertainer and a performer, and I studied performing arts when I was at university, and so but funny thing was I studied drama. That was my speciality. Right. But I spent most of the time singing with the music students.
Right. Okay. So, what do you? Well, let's focus back on the UK before you moved over to Spain first. How did your musical career develop over there, or did you have a day job as well?
I did. When I left university, I was married when I was at university, which was a little bit foolish. I got married too young, and had some kids. Well, my wife had the kids. I just sat and watched. And it didn't last long. We were two completely different kinds of people, and I was always trying to. One of the bugbears was I was always trying to go off and play in bands, right. But she wanted me to have a regular day job, so I was working in warehouses and all kinds of things that didn't match me at all. Right. And it wasn't until after that relationship had gone, and I'd gone through probably 10 years of working in nightclubs and my life going down the drain, really, before eventually I kind of pulled myself out of it, out of the depression, bought a house, got a job in a call center of all places, and eventually left that to become a musician in just after the millennium. Actually, I think it was the end of 2001.
Right.
Finally, got myself self-employed because there was a company that was looking for musicians who could work in lots of different ways with music and dance. She was a dancer, and I was lucky enough to be pulled out of employment into self-employment by that.
Right.
And that was the best day of my working life. Was the day before my birthday. It would have been 2001. So December the 19th, 2001. I remember it well. Leaving the call center for the last time.
Right.
And I started celebrating my birthday right then.
Yeah, you make it sound so luxurious, the call center, It must have been... you left the call center, self-employed musician. How did that work out for you?
It worked out really well to start with. Certainly, there was a lot of work from that particular company, and they'd got loads of grants in from various different organisations to do lots of work. So I was kept financially well to begin with, and then I learnt from her. She was a wonderful mentor to me.
Right.
Louise Cattarega. I have to name check her. She was fabulous and very experienced, and is even more experienced now. She's kind of chairing committees and all kinds of things to help people in the arts do jobs and be self-employed, that kind of thing. But anyway, that kind of set me on the pathway, taught me how to get workshops in schools. And work on, because I'm a writer and a poet, lyricist, songwriter, all that kind of thing. So I could use all of those skills to go into school and encourage. I was always encouraging children to actually write. That was the focus of it. But I used the music to get them actually singing the words that they were going to be using, creating stories and that kind of thing. And by using music, it actually encouraged them to do something which a lot of them, especially the boys, saw as a bit boring because it's not sports and it's not video games. So I got them writing about video games. I got them writing about sports in a much more creative way. And so I, used all of those talents to keep my work going so that I could carry on singing in bands and I could carry on doing all of this. And it built up from there. And I even got through the crash of... when was it? 2008?
2008, yeah. Where you're 8, 9, 10, 11, it went on for a long time, yeah.
And all of the work dropped off because, well, it's one of the first things that goes when there's a crash like that is entertainment and money for the arts. Really. Yeah. So fortunately, I managed to carry on, and I got in with a company. They kind of headhunted me. They were looking for someone to work with people with intellectual difficulties, with serious intellectual difficulties. Right. And I'd already worked with lots of people with different disabilities during my time with that music and dance company. So they grabbed me and I got into lots of their multi-sensory theatre, which was absolutely fantastic to be in. That was a really worthwhile sort of job, and I worked with them for quite a number of years.
Yeah, because it sounds very romantic, saying I'm a musician, but actually, if all you want to do is play, making a living from that on its own is. I've known people, not necessarily in music, but in the whole art, actors and various things, and they've survived very often because they've had a partner who had a real job. Because just making a living out of playing your guitar or playing an instrument is not really an easy thing to do, is it?
Well, they say there's a joke. What do you call a musician without a girlfriend? Homeless. So yeah, and the only way you can these days, it's even more difficult to get into the music industry. I think that you can do it on your own from your own bedroom and get streaming music, but you get even less from streaming music than you would get from being with a record company, and which is a difficult path anyway. You've got to be at the top of the business, at the top of the game, and really popular and gorgeous and know how to dance and sing and be on TV. And if you haven't got that, then as a working musician, it's really difficult. So you've got to have your fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah,
empanadas,
but I think what you're saying there is quite valid. That if you've got a name, whether you're a great musician or a great singer or not, the chances are you'll get a break. And I have met many, especially out here, many fantastic performers, whether they're playing instruments or whether they are... Hi, this is Bill Anderson. We're back. I think our producer Dave in France there forgot to pay the internet bill or something like that. I could see him putting some coins in the meter, to get the internet back up again. Coming live from the Costa del Sol. Sorry about the interruption. It wasn't me this time. With my guest today, Andrew Scattergood, otherwise known as Skatz. Welcome back, Skatz.
Thank you. I'm here.
Yeah, we were just talking about the lonely life of the professional musician, which is not necessarily an easy road, is it?
No, absolutely not. And I think I said to myself when I was in my 20s that if I'm not famous by the time I'm 30, that I would give it up. But your musicians don't give anything up. You can't drop the guitar, you can't drop songwriting. When you're a songwriter, it's kind of inside you. And
right.
And my wife was always talking about retiring. What when are we going to retire? And I'm thinking, no, I'm not giving this up. I'll just carry on until I drop. All my favourite people died on stage. When they're in the 70s or 80s.
Right. So that's what you're planning to do, is it?
Yes. Die on stage. Hopefully not before then.
So you've kind of taken the plunge in the UK. You have become, amongst other things, a professional musician, self-employed, and you've been doing teaching work and work in schools, work with people with he's left the meeting. I wonder if that means we've... I don't know what's happening here.
It's chaos at your end, isn't it?
Not my end. I'm okay today. I'm waiting for... You see, I keep getting Vicky coming in with these little notes saying, the radio's not broadcasting, or you're... so I'm not quite sure, but we'll keep going anyway, Skatz, because
carry on. We'll just have fun.
This is going into the podcast in any case.
Brilliant.
So, where are we? Yeah, you're doing a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. When did the time come when you decided to head out to Spain? How did that come about?
Well, we headed out to Ireland first.
Okay.
And that kind of I'll tell you in a nutshell, because otherwise it's quite a long story, really. About when we got married in 2006, before that we were planning a honeymoon, and we didn't have any money then. I was still building up my self-employment work, and my wife wasn't working at the time. And we said we like going camping. We said we'll just have a really, really nice camping trip somewhere that we really like. And we said, let's stick a pin in the map and make it a bit random. And I opened the map of the British Isles, and we both looked across to the left and went, oh, we've not. Have you been to Ireland? I've not been to Ireland. Shall we go to Ireland? Yeah, let's. All right, get the pin. And actually, no, let's just get on the internet and tap out camping in Ireland. And this campsite came up in a place called Caersaiveen in County Kerry. And there was a photograph on the home page, which was just gorgeous. It was a photograph taken from inside a tent. And within a few yards of the tent, there was the estuary. And an island in the background. We said that's where, the hairs were standing up on the back of our necks.
Right.
We said, that's a honeymoon. That really is. And we we got in touch with the campsite owner, a lovely man called Mortimer Moriarty.
Oh, that's a good name.
Which doesn't sound like it, but it's a very Irish name. I thought it was, I thought Sherlock Holmes immediather. He's the baddie, isn't he?
Yeah.
But anyway, we went across and as we'd been talking via emails about, we're on honeymoon, we want the best spot, we want this one where you took the photograph from. And he was so welcoming and lovely. And he walked towards us as we arrived. And he said, you must be the honeymoon couple. Let me show you in. It feels like I know you already, he said. And our hearts melted. In short, I wrote him a song that, after we'd got back home, sent it to him. and I didn't get a reply. But it was months, even years later, when I put it on the internet on YouTube, actually, but just with a title, no video attached to it. And somebody must have sent it to him, and he went, "Oh, this is fantastic! What a wonderful song! Thank you. Can I put it on the website?" And on the front page of the website, so to welcome people. And I said, "I would be honoured." And he said, "Tell you what, Aswitz, thank you so much. You can come here and camp for as long as you want, anytime you want." And of course, this was 2012, so after the crash, money was very, very tight, and we thought, well, we can afford to buy loads of tins of beans and take the ferry across to Ireland and live very frugally, just for a couple of weeks. So we did that, and then we fell in love with the place again and said, "Oh, we'd love to live here." In the meantime, I'd taken with us the diary of the honeymoon, which my wife had was continuously saying, "Get your head out of that diary on the honeymoon. Stop writing in the diary."
Is it fit for publication?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. But I must have spent an hour or two a day writing this. How beautiful and wonderful it was. And but of course, this was the time when I thought, let's have a look at it and see if it matches what was then. And we said back on the honeymoon, I'd written it down. Let's live here. So we just both went, all right. So we just started planning at that moment. And a year later, 2013, we moved just with very little money and just set up businesses there. And it kind of went on from there. So, and actually that became, that made moving to Spain easier when that happened 8 years later.
Right. So, but because you'd already kind of been through the uprooting process from England over to Ireland. Yeah. Mm. So it was around about 2019, 2020 that you moved to Spain?
21, actually.
Oh, 21. Oh, my goodness.
But 2019 was when I applied. It was December 2019. I applied for my Irish citizenship, which can take a couple of years altogether to get through the whole process. And that's citizenship by naturalization. That's, that means you've lived there for long enough, so you can actually apply. And I put in the application and sent off my UK passport, knowing that Brexit was coming around as well. I thought I wanted to stay European. We couldn't afford to put both of them in. So my wife didn't apply at the time, but she was going to apply several years later. We thought, we didn't think we were going to be moving from Ireland. We thought this is, eventually maybe in 10 years' time, we'll retire to somewhere warmer.
Right.
Then I got a phone call the very next day saying that my dad had had a fall when he was in hospital. And I said, I can't come over. I've just sent my passport in to get my Irish citizenship. Fortunately, he survived over until the new year. And my passport arrived in the post and I set off. And he died when I got there.
Right.
So it's affecting me still now.
But,
that was part of of our saying, we knew there was a bit of inheritance coming, and we thought, well, why don't we actually make the move while we still can and enjoy it, go somewhere warmer now while there's enough money to do it.
Right.
And then COVID happened, and it was like a perfect storm. All of these things hit us at the same time. So both of our self-employment collapsed because we were both dealing with people who were vulnerable to the illness. So we couldn't work anymore. Fortunately, the Irish government gave us a regular sort of income while the lockdown was happening.
Right.
But that gave us an opportunity to actually start a YouTube site. And we thought we will document something else that was going on, which is I had diabetes and I was very overweight. I was 17.5 stone at the time.
Wow.
And I needed to, they told me I had to go on tablets, and I thought I'm going to have to take these things for the rest of my life, and they were affecting me really badly. So we had this idea of trying to eat my way better.
Yes.
And we investigated the keto diet and also intermittent fasting. So, and that's what we started documenting on this YouTube site. It was our journey, and Liz started the diet as well, just for health reasons, really. And yes. she lost a bit of weight at the same time. So all of those things happened, and we also started talking about moving to Spain on the channel. The channel wasn't, it didn't get many followers, didn't get many fans, because there are millions of people doing, couples saying, this is our life, this is what we're doing.
Sure.
Loads of people talking about being on diets and losing weight. So we were very small fish in a very big sea. And I started investigating how to make it better and how to narrow down the niche. And actually, we were already talking about moving to Spain. So I thought, well, that's the niche. It's about people who want to move to Spain. That's quite a relatively narrow niche at any one time.
Right.
So I started I broke away and started that one on my own, called it U2 Spain, because Liz already had her own little channel called U2 Aromatherapy, and U2 Yoga. You can do yoga too, which was, that's why we spelt it TOO.
Yeah.
So I said, well, you can move to Spain too. Why not? Let's investigate that. And I started interviewing people like Chris from Up Sticks, who you've had on your show.
We've had, yeah.
And investigated how we could do it. And then eventually in 2021, my Irish citizenship came through, which was a big relief, because the conclusion we'd had with having UK passports after Brexit was that we couldn't move over as self-employed people doing what we were doing, because it's not the sort of thing that the Irish government will say, or the immigration department would say, yes, that's useful. YouTubers and people doing aromatherapy and yoga, they've got millions of them. So, and then it just happened quite quickly after that. We moved over in October 21.
Yeah, I think, without going into pros and cons of Brexit, I think it has probably stifled the dreams of a lot of people who previously could just pack up their stuff and head over here. Well, you have your Irish. You don't sound Irish, by the way, Skatz. You have to practice the Irish accent a bit.
No, I picked it up. I picked it up a little when I was there. I actually did some writing and some performing. We wrote plays and comedy sketches with an Irishman who was born in Dublin, lived in Cork, so he lived all around the place. And in America, he was a brilliant performer and brilliant writer, called Desi Walls. And we formed Skatz and Walls as this double act. There's a very long story about how we met. My car broke down outside his house, and he was watching Ireland versus England on the rugby. So he kind of ignored me, and his wife said helped us out, filled the car with water again because it was the radiator that broke down, and said, oh, my husband's a writer as well, and a musician, and he actually started writing to me. He wrote the scene 1 of this Skatz and Walls meeting up.
Right.
And it was all about me living in his garage, but his wife not realising. And so I wrote scene 2, and then he wrote scene 3, and then we met up. We had a meal together, and we started writing from there. And I eventually appeared in a play that he'd written, a musical that he'd written.
Right.
And I played him, and I had to do an Irish accent then. And he said quite often I'd sound like a pirate rather than because I did the Dublin accent, which is very different from Kerry. Kerry's all up here.
It is, isn't
Dublin's
it? Yes.
all the way down here.
Yeah.
And I don't sound anything like a Dubliner. But
the accents are in different parts of Ireland. I guess it's a little bit, but it's like most countries. It doesn't matter when you're in Scotland, or you're in England, or you're in Spain. You can move from town to town, and the accent changes completely, doesn't it?
That's true. They're actually in concert where I was born. There are 3 different accents in the different parts of town, which, if you're from outside of there, you wouldn't know the difference. But it's very obvious when you're there, living there,
Yeah.
But the Irish one, at least I don't go diddly-eye, and try and act like a leprechaun. I try and stay away from that, because I love people like Dara O'Brien, who's always, whenever an Englishman tries to do an Irish accent, he's just like, don't even think about it. And
Yeah.
so
So you got over here October 2021, you said.
21. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you chose an interesting area to move to. I mean, but when I moved over here, 2002, it was right down onto the coast. You've
Hmm.
gone inland a little bit to well,
Mm.
it's a kind of smallish town, isn't it?
Mm. But bigger than the ones we first started looking at, because
Right.
we realised that, especially with my wife, one of the boxes we had to tick. They're always talking about ticking boxes and location,
Sure.
location, location on the programs about moving here, and that was important, that my wife had enough clients, and there needed to be enough expats really who could speak English to begin with,
Right.
while she was building up enough of a clientele. And so we loved the idea of living in a beautiful white Moorish village in the
Sure.
mountains. We like the mountains and the sea, and in fact, where in Kersleveen in County Kerry, where we were living in Ireland, the famous song from there is called "The Boys of Barna Shrada." The opening line is, "The town that climbs the mountain and looks upon the sea,"
Right.
and and we picked exactly the same for Computer, although much further inland on that, where
Yeah.
20-25 minutes drive from the coast up here, and the road is precarious, to say the least.
Yeah, it's we have friends up in the Competa area, so we've driven that road many times,
Mm.
and yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a relaxing drive.
No, no, it is for me now, although there are many bends. You can't relax your arms, certainly when
Yeah,
you're the driver. And my wife tends to hold onto the handle on the door while while I'm driving,
sort of white
even though
knuckle.
she's much more of she's a faster driver than I am, and
Right.
I don't drive fast at all really up there. You can't go faster than 40 or 50 kilometres an hour really
No, you
on
can't.
those roads. There's just too many corners and really sharp ones.
Yeah, when we go up to Competa, we've taken a couple of different routes. What one past there's this wonderfully named little village called Sayalonga,
Ah, yes,
which it sounds like it doesn't belong here. Sayalonga, it sounds
yeah.
like it's somewhere from, I don't know, Asia or
Japan. It's
Japan.
Japan,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, that's what we said when we drove through it.
yeah,
And we looked there first. We were looking for properties there first, and we thought that, yeah, this is a lovely, lovely place. And we had, we sat there and we did the cafe culture thing in the plaza,
uh,
and we said, yeah, this would be nice, but maybe it's not quite big enough. And somebody said,
yeah,
well, why don't you try Computer? It's what, 3,000 population, not all of them in the town, but
sure,
as you know, a lot of expats tend to want to be out of town in the campo, as they call it, out in the countryside.
yeah,
That's the dream. And but it's about 50-50 in Computer, 50% Spanish and 50% not Brits, but expats, mainly
internationals.
Northern
Yeah,
Europeans.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And yeah, it is an interesting little town. Or do
Mm.
you call it a town? Do you call it a village?
Officially a village,
Officially a village.
although it has a town hall. I think in the UK, if you have a town hall, you're a town. But you can have
Right.
a, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
everywhere in Spain's got a town hall.
Yeah,
Just
I
about.
mean, Kersleveen is called a town, but it's smaller than the village we lived in England.
Right.
So yeah, it depends on where you are, and there are no cities in County Kerry.
Yeah.
The Tralee and Killarney are the only two real big towns,
Right.
and yeah, they're towns.
Yeah. So
Our Compton is just it has that Moorish feel, all the narrow, steep streets, some of them cobbled. You can't really drive a car around much of it. If you do, it's got to be small or a motorbike.
yeah. Welcome back. I'm Bill Anderson.
Uh-huh.
Uh, we have had problems today, and I have to say it wasn't at my end for a change. Our internet's working just fine today. Welcome back to Andrew Scattergood. Andrew, we've been talking, and this is all going into the podcast, but we've been talking about you moving over to this lovely little mountain town called Compita, about 25 minutes in from the coast. How has the experience been, first of all, of moving to Spain, and secondly, sort of earning a living down here?
Well, it started off slightly badly when we got off the ferry in Bilbao. We came over from Ireland, as you know, Rosslare to Bilbao, which takes about 32 hours.
Oh,
so we had
nice.
2 nights sleep on the ferry with a very nervous dog. Fortunately we'd booked it really early, so we managed to get a dog cabin.
Right.
Because she wouldn't have been separated from us, I don't think. And it was one of the last ferries to go before that. They shut down for the winter. They don't, so you can't go in November or any way through till about April.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we eventually we coped with the ferry, and we got off the ferry driving. It was a Ford Galaxy that I'd taken out. It was like a 7-seater.
All right.
Taken out all of the seats out of the back to put the dog cage and lots of our stuff in there. 3 expensive guitars and all kinds of stuff that we didn't want to put on a removal lorry. So it was absolutely loaded to the gunnels, packed to the gunnels. And we broke down 20 minutes south of Bilbao. And on a Sunday of all times, fortunately, we had a Grua pulled up, and we had some AA coverage as well, the European cover, and we eventually managed to get towed to this motorway, just a pull off from the motorway. Really, it wasn't like a service station. There was nothing there, and we ended up having to leave the car there with the Grua and get a taxi all the way back into Bilbao, which cost us €100. And we had to stay there for about 4 days because Sunday, nobody's open. Tuesday was a very special day, but a holiday in Spain. So the Monday, of course, was a Puente day. Nothing open for 3 days. Eventually, we gave up of getting the car fixed, and we hired a van to get down to Granada, which is where our friends who we were going to be staying with for a bit while we looked for a house. So, and then I had to fly back up there several days later when the car was fixed.
Oh my God.
And it was an absolute nightmare. Of course, we had a dog with us, so no hotels would take dogs. Some would take dogs, but not if they were over 20 kilos, and ours is 24 kilo. No taxi would take a dog to start with. So fortunately, the grower could speak just enough English to sort us out, and phoning up all these hotels. And so we had this nightmare. But after moving down here and being in touch with other people, I found out there were people who'd had car accidents and ended up in hospital on the way down on their journey. Right. So it felt kind of not as bad about it. Once we got there, it was nice,
Yeah, just to put it into context for people, this is not the United States or Russia or Australia, but it's still a fair old distance, isn't it, from Bilbao down to the south coast?
Yeah, absolutely. Even down to Granada, which is fairly near the south coast.
Yeah, so I don't know what distance we're talking about. It's over 1,000 kilometres.
Possibly, yes. Yeah, I don't know. I should know that kind of thing.
You should do, yeah.
I've lived here for a while, but definitely a good old 10-hour journey.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're here. You decided to settle down into Compita. You've got your house. How did you kind of mentioned to us how U2 Spain started, but tell us a little bit more about it, Andrew, and what kind of things you've been picking up on U2 Spain.
Well, we tend to fulfill the questions that people are asking. I mean, that's the secret with a YouTube channel. You've got to answer the questions that people need the answers to. And a lot of that is to do with getting a visa. It's UK people a lot who listen to the show. It's about 50% people from the UK listening in. And they now, after Brexit, they need visas. So in order to get over here, and then they've got to get their residency all signed up and get their residency card when they arrive. So a lot of it, especially when Chris is on, is talking about that, or bringing your car over and registering that. But there's all kinds of things like insurance and transporting your pets, doing removals, and everything to do with living in Spain, which is important. We've got people doing top tips on living here, and how to get cheaper bills, and how to live more frugally, and what else? Oh, driving license exchanges, especially. Yes. That was a huge thing for quite a while, and one of our most popular shows, I think, at the time, because people were desperate, especially those people who'd who'd lived here and were waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole driving license thing, without boring people who are not living in Spain, was a complete and utter chaos.
Oh, shambles.
People were supposed to have changed their license after being here for 6 months, and some people had been driving and renewing the UK license for 20 years. And it was pretty chaotic. But you do pick up on a lot of these things, and as you say, a lot of them have been kind of Brexity related topics. But you have some people help you out with these videos, don't you? You have Walter and the Colonel.
I do, yes. I've created these characters. Well, there are two kind of videos that I do, and one is the live show on a Saturday morning, which is 10 o'clock local Spanish time, and those are real guests. Those are the experts. People used to, on Facebook, people would say to me, why are you such an expert? You're not an expert. You're just somebody who's got a YouTube channel. I say, well, no, I'm not an expert. I get all the information from experts. Yeah, sure. I get them on my show, and they are the ones I ask the questions to. But I also make these videos which come out on a Wednesday evening, which are much shorter, and they're information videos all edited together.
Yeah.
And in order to get questions asked to me so that I can basically repeat back the information that you get from official sources, I had to create these characters, and I created a really thick Brexiteer northerner called Walter to start with.
Yes.
And I've got his hat with me now just to so I can get the voice, because this is sometimes what you need. Obviously your listeners can't see that.
Yes, he is putting a hat on.
Yes, and it's kind of a battered leather thing with the front turned up, and he has, I can't remember his catchphrases, but he's usually the one that goes, "Welcome to you to Spain." And so he's got this kind of innocent, naive voice, which is slightly different from what it was when he started. He's developed as a character. Right. Because originally he was a lot more northern and brash and a lot more shouty.
Right.
But
yeah.
He just, but because of his, probably because of the hat, he just started to soften, and his big, wide, innocent, naive eyes.
Right.
And then I realised that I'd need somebody angry to be a sort of a foil for him.
So that was the Colonel.
No, that was Tommy.
Oh, that was Tommy, right?
Tommy,
okay.
Who was permanently angry and shouty.
Right.
He's even when he's saying something, helpful, nice, or lovely, he was, "Thank you very much." So he's got this voice, and his background. I mean, it's all done with green screen.
Sure.
It's because I do all of these videos. I do a lot of just what do you call it? Face to screen. I just face to camera. And so I have these different backgrounds which make it more interesting and make the scenes move on. And I have Walter on one side of the screen and Tommy on the other, so that you've got continuous movement. That keeps people interested. Right. As you know, that's the sort of thing you need to do to keep people interested. I don't use that many B-roll, stock video and photographs.
Sure. I
have done on some of the films when it's been all about where to move to in Spain, because, it's best that you show all of the places rather than talk about them. But anyway, so I've got Walter on one side of me, who's sitting with a background of, it's actually Torrox Costa Beach. He's sitting in a chiringuito. So that also made him more relaxed and a bit more lovely, because he's become more relaxed because he's sitting on the beach.
Yes.
And whereas Tommy's sitting in a very dark pub, obviously an English pub on the Costa somewhere. Uh-huh. And he's still very angry about everything. So the Colonel.
But we're British.
We're British. Yeah. The Colonel's he's got many, many more catchphrases than Tommy ever had.
Yeah, but I actually, Skatz, this phrase, "But we're British." I have heard this so many times. Yes. They can't do that to us because we're British.
And the Colonel came about because he those kind of phrases came more naturally to him because all I have to do is put my glasses down towards the end of my nose, and he becomes instantly more hateable. I think. Yes. He's not very relatable. He's very much a caricature. And he's got a background of Windsor Castle behind him. Very, very much, one of the most iconic British buildings, I think. So, and his catchphrase is "Bah!" which is a little bit like Colonel Melchett from Blackadder.
Right.
Kind of started off like that, and then it changed because the quality of that and it goes all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't need a visa. I'm British. And it'll be the immigrants again. You mark my words.
Yes.
It's a diabolical liberty.
Yes, and of course we're not immigrants. We're British.
Yeah, absolutely. Expats. I've made a video which got some trolls really angry.
I can imagine.
Which is called "Are you an immigrant or an expat?" And it's basically me saying you're immigrants. You're all immigrants. Everybody's an immigrant if you move over to another country. So, but it's who's saying the word that's very important. If it's a white British middle class person, expat moving over, I still use the word expat. But if it's an immigrant like that and saying that they're an expat, there are connotations.
Yeah.
There are certain people that they call expats and certain people that they call immigrants. And in terms of how much money they've got and what their quality of life is, immigrants are always lower on the scale and on the spectrum than expats. Yeah. And it's racism, at a very verbal level.
Sure. Listen, we've only got a few seconds left, Skatz. Can you just tell people how they can get in touch with you, how to follow your YouTube channel, for example?
Certainly. The easiest thing, youtospain.com is the website. And so it's YOUTOO Spain.com, and that you can get links to all of the website, links to YouTube from there, and also to the U2 Spain community group on Facebook as well.
Skatz,
central hub.
I'm getting funny looks from our producer now. We're going to have to finish. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Skatz.
See you, everyone. Bye-bye.